You're looking at a 1985 Mercedes 300 TD wagon. This is a milestone car. This is really the last of the 123 chassis, and it is the last of the W123 station wagon. These are probably the most highly sought after used diesel on the market today. People love these wagons, particularly the turbo diesel models that were made from 1981 to 1985. 85, they did a couple things that really make these wagons nice. And primarily, it's putting that lower ratio rear end and a higher stall speed torque converter in the transmission. You get out on in these wagons, the 85s, they just are really great road cars because they're not turning up such high RPM as the previous models. So I decided I'm going to do a video series on this car because I have a friend who said, Kent, will you take a look at my wagon and tell me if it's worth fixing up? Is it worth putting some money into it? So we're going to have an opportunity here to kind of check this wagon out to see whether or not it's worth restoring. And some of the principles we'll talk about in this series of videos will apply to when you go out and look for one of these older diesels to buy as well. So let's start by just taking a quick overview of the body. There's going to be a couple things I particularly look for, and after we do that, we'll take a look inside the car. A quick look at the car tells me that cosmetically it's probably an at least average or slightly above average. Obviously, you know, this is a real typical one here. It's going to need a new grille shell insert, but the headlights, the surrounds, the front bumper straight. What I'm going to look for real quick is rust. That's number one. If this is a rusty car, it's been exposed to road salt, I'll just tell them to forget it. And you can do that by checking down underneath the wheel wells here, looking at the jack points. Particularly those jack points will start to show up. And then under here it looks pretty good. But right away, I spotted something. This car has been repainted. And you're going to say, well, Ken, how can you tell? Well, there's tan overspray down inside the fender wells, and you know, they didn't do that at the factory. Also, looking up here at the sunroof seals, they painted the seals as well. So I know the car's been repainted. I don't know the history of the body and the condition of the body, other than it is a rust-free car, but it looks like a fairly decent paint job. I'm not seeing any cracking in the paint. There's no lifting of the paint either on the hood or anywhere up on the top area. So I'm going to give the body a pass. That's something we can work with. Now let's take a look inside the car. The interior is pretty dirty, but at least it's not torn up. The seats are pretty solid. There's actually no tears in the upholstery. But look at the steering wheel. This car has mold in it. In fact, there's quite a bit of mold, which tells me there's been some serious water leaks inside the car. But we'll get that cleaned up real quick and take a closer look at it. But I think the interior is probably something we can work with it as well. Okay, the battery's totally dead, so we can't fire the engine up. But this is an 85 model with the trap oxidizer, and you can tell this because the air filter is mounted off the engine right here. And moving over to the top of the engine, you can see the typical oil leaks. One of the first things I do on these is I get down and I take a look at the cam. If the camshaft is badly scored, that's an indication the engine's probably not received frequent oil changes. Camshaft looks okay. A lot of oil and crud over there. So I can't tell by visual inspection there's anything terribly bad here. But the big goal will be to try to get this engine running. Well, the glass looks great in the car. In fact, this windshield looks brand new, and I can tell the front windshield seal has been recently replaced. But there's a lot of moisture. There's a lot of wetness on the inside of the windshield, and the front carpets are soaked. So that's something we're going to have to look more closely at. I can almost guarantee you what the problem is. You'll find that out in one of the later videos in this series. Okay, so what have we seen here? We've seen an acceptable body, something that, you know, I don't think I would reject this car based on the condition of the body or the paint. The interior looks like it's going to detail out real well, and it even has a cracked-free dash. The engine, I can't say anything about the engine yet. So the number one goal here, whether I'm going to advise fixing this car or not, or whether you're going to go out and look for one to purchase, is to make sure that you check out the condition of the engine. If that engine is nearing the end of its life, or there's a major wear problem inside the engine, I'm going to recommend that he send it down the road. So we're going to get the battery charged and we're going to get the engine running. And I'm going to try to get the car drivable without spending any money, the minimum amount of money, because I don't want to start throwing parts at this thing until I do determine that it has a healthy engine and transmission. When we get that done, we'll come back and I'll let you hear this engine run in part 2. If we can't get it running, I'll just come back, and part 2 will be the last in this series.